Hi, welcome everyone. It's almost 4 o'clock in the Netherlands, just 2 minutes, so we'll wait until 4 o'clock before we will start this webinar. Before that, I hope everybody can hear me, and I'm curious to know where everybody is coming from. So maybe you can indicate in the chat if you like from which city and in which country you're going to attend this webinar. Thanks, Jan, that you can hear me loud and clear from Hilversum in the Netherlands. That's not so far away. I see Flavia from Rome in Italy. Hi, Thomas. From Nijmegen, also in the Netherlands. So 2 people from the Netherlands. That's nice. Maria, I'm from the Philippines. So for the people who just entered, we'll wait another minute before we start. And yeah, I'm curious to know where everybody is coming from. So maybe you can indicate in the chat if you want from which city and in which country you are going to attend this webinar today. I see Islam from Egypt, Michelle from Wisconsin, USA. Hi, Guido. I from the south of Frankfurt in Germany. I see Laura from Poughkeepsie in New York. Sid, also from Wisconsin in the USA. Rochelle Houston, but no audio for me. I think everybody else can hear me, so maybe you can check if your audio at your side is on. I see Ansu from Ecuador, Martin from the Czech Republic, Luis from Guadalajara in Mexico, Sarah from Dallas, Texas, and Wendy from Liverpool. So we have an audience that is from all over the world. And it's now 16:01 here in the Netherlands. So what I'll do is I'll fire up my presentation and we will start this webinar. So give me a minute. I will Are there more people that don't hear me? Maybe there's some. Oh, you can hear me. Great. What I just told was a short introduction about myself, so that's not really important. So let's now really kickstart this webinar and see what we are covering today. So I'm starting with a short explanation of why quizzes are important in Articulate Storyline. And after that, we're heading over to Articulate Storyline and get started creating quizzes in Storyline. So what we're going to do is we'll look at the structure of a quiz, question types, result slides, and question banks. And next to that, we'll also look at how you can enhance your quizzes in Articulate Storyline. And at the end of the webinar, there's also room to ask your questions about creating quizzes in Articulate Storyline. And before I forget, I will record this webinar and we'll post it on my YouTube channel as soon as possible. So let's go at why quizzes are important. Now, there are 4 main reasons why quizzes are beneficial in e-learning courses. Now, let's start with the first reason. The first reason is about assessments. Now, quizzes help instructors assess how well a student has grasped the material. By asking questions about the key concepts and topics, quizzes provide feedback on the student's comprehension of the subject matter. Now, this information allows educators to tailor their teaching methods and address any confusing or misunderstanding. What I mean is that you can see the results of a quiz in a learning management system. But I want to make a comment because depending on the publication format of your e-learning courses, for instance, SCORM or XAPI, and what a learning management system can report, it varies from situation to situation what data of a quiz you can access. In some systems you can only see if a student has passed the quiz and which score, and in other systems you can also see which questions he answered, which answers he has given, and if the question was right or wrong, and if the question has a specific score, you can also see the score. So that is depending on the learning management system you have. And then the second reason is active learning, because quizzes promote active learning and active recall practice. When students attempt to answer quiz question, they are actively retrieving information from their memory, which enhances retention and long-term learning. Now, this process strengthens neural pathways associated with the material, and it's making it easier for them to recall the content in the future. Now, the third reason is motivation. Quizzes can motivate students to regularly engage with the course material. Knowing they will be tested on the course content, students has to be on top on their student material. And this consistent engagement fosters a deeper understanding of the material and promotes better time management. So that means, and we will be covering this in this webinar, how you can make your quizzes more engaging, more than only some multiple choice questions in a row and a score form at the end of your quiz. And the last reason is feedback, because quizzes offer immediate feedback to students. So when they receive their quiz results, they can identify areas that need improvement for their learning. Now, and this feedback loop allows students to focus on the weaknesses and tailor their study efforts accordingly. Now, over time, this iterative process leads to a better overall performance. So these were 4 reasons why quizzes are important in e-learning courses. Now let's dive into Articulate Storyline and see how we can set up quizzes in Storyline. So I will end my presentation and I will share my screen. So I hope everybody can see my screen right now. One moment. Yeah, great. Everybody can see my screen. That's great. So I have prepared some things in Articulate Storyline, and first thing that I want to show you is what is exactly a quiz in Articulate Storyline. That's really straightforward. So I have a scene in Articulate Storyline. Now let's go to the scene. So what you see here is, now there's an introduction slide for my quiz with a start quiz button. After that, there are several quiz questions, and at the end, there's a result slide. So this is the simplest form of a quiz in Articulate Storyline. We have our introduction page, some quiz questions, and we have a result slide. Now we go see how we can set up a quiz in Storyline ourselves, to see what we have to keep in mind to build a good quiz. So now I have here a new scene with only a quiz introduction page. Quizzes can contain two types of questions. We have the questions that you can find here. If you go to slides and you have here the graded questions, so you can use your graded questions in your quiz, for instance, a multiple choice question or a multiple response question. But you can also add free-form questions in a quiz, and a quiz can contain free-form questions and the graded questions in the same quiz. So, for instance, let's copy a question from here. This is a graded question, a multiple choice question. I'm editing it here. I have here also a free-form question. So let's copy that one and build a new quiz. And what I will do is I will paste it here. So you see my quiz has now two questions. This question and a free-form question. And our next step will be to add a result slide. So to add a result slide, we'll go to Slides, and you see here Results, and you see now the Insert Slide menu, and you have here several options to add a result slide. Now this one is a graded result slide. It's the basic result slide. And you see here it's great. It creates automatically a result slide with a success and failure message for one quiz. Now, if you want to have a survey in your Articulate Storyline course, there's a survey result slide. Now, I won't go further in this webinar about surveys. There's a blank result slide you see here that says only thanks for your submission, but I don't want to insert that one. So let's go back to results. And there's here a combined result slide. So if you have multiple quizzes in your course and you want to have a combined score from all that quizzes, you can add this one. Now let's add a graded result slides. Laura, is it okay to save your question for later on, and I will answer the question later on? Okay, great. And so a graded result slide, I've selected this one, and now I'll insert slide. And what you see here, Storyline has now added a result slide to the quiz. Now we can do some, have some settings that we can do. So the first one, and this is a really important one, is to give your result slide a proper name. Because you see here in your trigger panel, Now there are some triggers with this result slide that say quiz 1 point score points, quiz 1 point score points. But if you have multiple quizzes in your course, it can be unclear what is quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3 in your course. So give it a proper name. So if we change the name here, let's do it webinar quiz. And I'll click on OK. Storyline has to load. And you see here the okay, I saw that see that there was a problem with the pop-up. One moment, I will unshare my screen and we'll do it again. So can you all see my screen again? And what I will do is go back to results here. This is the pop-up where I just told you about. You see different type of result slides that you can insert here. Here was the result slide for combined results. And this is the graded result slide for one quiz, and I've added it to my quiz. So you see here now result slide. And if we go to design here and quiz settings, you see here the settings menu for your quiz, for your result slide. So the first thing that I'll advise you to do is to give your result slide a proper name. And that has everything to do with the triggers here. Normally there states score 1 or quiz 1 point, score points. Now that is unclear, especially if you have multiple quizzes in your course. So if you give it a proper name, you see that the name is here, and it's far more clear which result slide this is. So let's continue to our quiz settings. And I'm taking a little sip of water in the meanwhile. You see here that there are some settings that you can do. You can make it a pre-check, a result slide, a knowledge check result slide, and a final assessment result slide. So I will explain the differences. Now, most of the time you will use a final assessment result slide, because a final assessment result slide creates a standard submit results trigger on the result slide. I will show you in a minute. And this is a default quiz type, and a final assessment can be stored and tracked by your LMS or learning record system. And it's automatically added to your LMS or learning record system tracking options. Now, you saw that there was also the option to create a pre-check, to create this a pre-check. So if I will do this and I'll save it, it will be a pre-check. So you see here pre-check. Now, what a pre-check does is it creates a conditional submit results trigger, which depends on the learner passing a quiz. A pre-check quiz can be scored and tracked by your learning management system or your LRS only if the learner passes. So if they fail, the quiz won't get reported to your LMS, and the learner has an opportunity to pass another quiz later on in the course. So pre-checks are automatically added to your learning management and learning record tracking options. And the question data still gets submitted to the LMS, even if a quiz participant didn't pass the quiz. You can see how the learner responded to the questions. Now, how can you use a pre-check. For instance, if you have a course about a certain topic, and you want people to give the option that if they know enough about a topic, you can give them a quiz at the start of your course. Now, if they've passed the quiz, they know enough about the topic, so then the course will be set to completed, and they have a score in the learning management system. If they do not pass the quiz, so they fail the quiz, you can give them the content that they have to learn, and multiple chapters, for instance. And at the end, you can have another quiz. And if they pass that quiz, then the learner passed your whole course. So you can use the pre-check to see if users already know enough about the content and don't have to do a whole course and have enough knowledge about the subject. And there was a third one, a knowledge check, pre-check, or a knowledge check result slide. And a knowledge check result slide is not scored or tracked by your learning management system. So there is no submit triggers result. So a knowledge check simply gives the learner an opportunity to test their knowledge and reinforce what they learned. So if you want to create a quiz in your course that doesn't have to be tracked in your learning management system, then you select here knowledge check. And otherwise you can have one of the other two options. I'll go for final assessment here. That is okay. So what you can see here is that you can calculate results for questions or result slides. I have multiple result slides in this course. So what I can do is I can say I want to calculate the results for this quiz and this quiz. And for instance, for scoring, the user must pass each quiz, or I can combine points from each quiz. Now, for this example, I want to create a simple quiz. So I'll keep it by questions. I can here select all the questions that are in my storyline course and can say which questions I want to pick for this quiz. So here you see scene 2 quiz, and the 2 questions that are in this quiz will be scored for this quiz. And other questions are not relevant for now. And you see here there are 2 questions in this course, and there's a passing score of 80%. And I can change it, for instance, to 90% or make it lower. And there's also the option to only score viewed questions. And later on in this webinar, I will explain why this feature can be handy for courses, for quizzes. And last, here on the settings page, you see a quiz timer. So you can set a time, for instance, so that people have to do the quiz within that amount of minutes. Now, I normally don't use it, but it is an option here. So let's click on OK, and let's see the structure of our result slide. Where to see that Storyline automatically added a success layer here with nice job, you've passed, and a failed layer, and automatically created the triggers to show the success layer, show the failed layer, and submit the quiz results. And what you see, the success layer will be shown when the timeline starts on this slide, and when webinar quiz score points is greater than or equal webinar quiz pass points. And this failure layer is, for instance, is the same. If a webinar score points is greater than or equal webinar quiz pass points, is smaller than webinar quiz pass points, then the failed layer will be shown. and the submit quiz results will be executed when the score point is greater than a pass point. So that means that you have more points than you need to. Now, what you see here on the result on the success layer is that you have here a review quiz functionality of a button. That if you click on this, you'll go back to your quiz, and you can see if you've scored the right or have given the correct or incorrect answers. Here on the trigger, you can say, I want to show correct, incorrect responses when we're reviewing, but you can also say, no, I want that my participant or student only reviews his incorrect questions. So if you check that one, then you have here the incorrect questions. And here on our failure layer, now you see that we have the same review quiz button, but there's also a retry quiz. Now, what a retry quiz button does, it will reset all the results of your quiz. So everything will be set to 0, and we will jump to the first quiz question in our quiz, and the participant or your student have the ability to do the test again and see if he now has enough correct answers to pass the quiz. So there is no standard functionality in the result slide for a certain amount of attempts. For instance, if you want your student to have 2 attempts to try to pass the quiz, and if he failed, that you, for instance, say, okay, go back to the content, redo all the content, and come back later for the quiz. That is something you have to do manually with variables and triggers. And that is something that it's a little bit out of scope for this webinar. Maybe if we have time at the end, I can show you how you can do this. Now, this is the most simple form of a quiz. You see here we have an introduction page, a certain amount of questions, 2 in this quiz, and you have a quiz result page. The downside of this setup is that questions are always in the same order, and you have always the same amount of questions. So I have here the 2 questions in the same order, and maybe you don't want it, for instance, that people are giving answers to each other, and you want to randomize the questions. So that is our next step. And therefore you will need a question banks. So I'll provide it here, a scene with the same setup. You see here our quiz introduction page, our results slide, but here in the middle, you see now a draw from a question bank. And what a question bank is really you can see it as a large box or bank of questions, and you can say how many questions you want to pull out of the box each time a user does the quiz. So if I click here, and I hope everybody sees this pop-up, you'll see in this question bank, and I will show you in a little moment how you create a question bank, that I have 5 questions. I can say I want to draw the questions randomly, so they will be shown in a random order. And I can also say I want to include all questions, or I can say, for instance, no, I want to only include 3 questions in my quiz, and they will be shown in a random order. So every time a student does the quiz, he sees different questions, and also questions in a different order. I click on save here, and I will delete this one, and I will show you how you can create a question bank. So if you go back to your slides panel or your slides tab here, now we have here the quizzing options, and you see here that there is a question banks option. Now here is a new draw from question bank, and here are 2 question banks. Let's create a new question bank. I'll call it webinar quiz, so we'll know this is the question bank that we were creating for this webinar. So click on OK. Now we're in our question bank window. Now, and you see there are no questions right now in this question bank. What you can do, you can add a graded or a survey question, so create a question from scratch. Or what you can do is import questions that are already in your project. So what I showed you earlier is that I have a quiz scene with 5 questions, and I want to have these questions in my question bank. So I'll select these 5 questions. And now I can say I want to copy these questions into my question bank, but I can also say, I want to move the questions in the question bank. Now I'll copy them. And what Storyline now does, it copies the questions into my question bank, so that there are now new slides in the question bank. So there's no connection to the slides in the scene that we saw earlier. And what you see here from the questions is that they have 1 attempt, and that you get 10 points if you have this question correct. Now you have some other options in your question bank. What you, for instance, can do is if you say, I want to draw a certain amount of questions, but the first question I want to have it always in the draw, you can say, for instance, or as the first question, you can link it at the top of the group. I hope everybody can see it, but there's here a little link button. And I can also do it for this one that has to be, for instance, the last item of the group. You see there is here now a little link button. Now we have the question bank, but if I'll go back to this scene, you'll see that there is no draw from question bank. So that's our next step. So what we'll do for that is I'll select my first slide, go back to slides again, go back to question banks, and now I'll click here, new draw from question bank. And now I can choose which question bank I want to draw the questions from. So this course has 3 question banks, 1, 2, 3. Now I want to include the questions from this webinar. And you see here I can draw questions randomly and include all questions, or for instance, have only 3 questions. Susan asks if the questions now considered unique and can be changed. Yeah, there can be changed, and they have no impact on the original questions. So there is no connection between the original questions and this question. So if you change the questions in the question bank, it has no meaning for the questions that were in the other scene. And here you have some options to include in the shuffle. You see here randomly, but I can also say this question, for instance, I want it never to be in the shuffle. So now Storyline will pick the 3 questions from these 4, but you can also say, no, this second question, this is so important, I want that it will be always drawn in a draw from a question bank. So I set it to always. And now it will be always drawn. another possibility to, for instance, if you have a specific follow-up question in your quiz. So you have a question about a topic and a follow-up question about the same topic. If you're going to randomize your questions, it can be, for instance, that the follow-up question will be before the other question. So this is something that you don't want. So let's say, for instance, there's this question 3 is the follow-up question on question 2. Now we can log these questions together. Let's see if we can see, for instance, I want to log question 2 to my question below. You see that they are now logged. And if I'll now say this to always and this to always, these questions will be drawn in the question bank and will be shown after each other. An answer for James for what does the link functionality that you added to the first in questions do? For instance, if I'll set this one to that I want to draw all questions and draw them randomly, then because I've linked this question and this question, then this question will always be the first question, and this 5th question, because I linked that at the bottom of the group, it will always be the last question in the question bank. I hope this is an answer to your question. So these are things that you can set for your question bank. And here, if I'll click on insert, you see that Articulate Storyline now has created a draw from the question bank. So you see we have our quiz here, our draw from the webinar question bank, and the results slide. And if you click here, then you see the draw, for instance. Let me see if I can remove the locks. Yes, and that will show you how this will look like. So for instance, I want to draw a question randomly, but I want to include 2 questions. I'll save this one and let's preview this scene. So we have to wait a little moment to have Storyline created a preview of this scene. Yeah, and there it is. So this is our introduction slide. I'll click on Start Quiz. Now you see the first question out of the question bank will be shown. It's about superheroes. So who is known as the Man of Steel in the DC Comics universe? So as far as I know, it's Superman. That's correct. And in the Marvel Comics, who is the alter ego of Natasha Romanoff? I think it's the Black Widow. Let's see if that is correct, and this is also correct. Continue. And normally you see here your score points and your score percent. Now there is something with the color of the font, but you see here my score was 100%. So, and the passing score was also 100%. Now you see here we have the options to review our quiz. So if I click this one, you see here I gave this answer and this was also the correct answer. If I go to the next question, you see this was my given answer and this was the correct answer. And now I'm back on my result slide again. And if I want to retry my quiz, for instance, because I didn't pass it, I can click on retry quiz. And normally Storyline will jump back to the quiz. Let's see why it doesn't work, because I deleted the question bank here. So what you have to do is jump to and then draw from question bank. And now if a user clicks on retry quiz, Storyline jumps automatically to the question bank. It will draw random a set of new questions from the question bank, and the user can do the questions again, and maybe he can pass the quiz this time. So this is for setting up quizzes with and without question banks. Elizabeth asks if there is an answer, if there is an option to disable the retry if reviewed. Yeah, what I showed you earlier, there are two options. One option, for instance, is only show the incorrect options, but then there know what the answers are. But if they have a new quiz, they have new questions. So you can say, I only want to review my incorrect questions. But what also is a possibility is to don't show the review quiz button. And then they have the option, for instance, to print the results and to retry the quiz. So there's no review option. So what you can do, for instance, is on the success layer, you can have your review quiz button, and on your failure layer, you don't have your review quiz button. So that is a possibility, for your issue. Now you saw we have normal. I have had normal questions, but what we also want to do is have more engagement. For instance, when we are creating quizzes in Articulate Storyline. Now, what we can do, for instance, and I have an example here. We can do something with, for instance, points. So I have here a thermometer, and this is something from my previous webinar that is also on YouTube, and that was about variables. So here with variables, I filled the thermometer, but you can also do it with the points from the questions. So for instance, if you go to form view here for your questions, you can see here that for a correct question, a user gets here in this example 1 point or 10 points, but I can change it to 1 point. And here it's 0 points, but I can also say, no, for each incorrect question, I will subtract a point from the score quiz points. And let me see what we have to do here. So what I will do is I'll copy this quiz question and one moment to make sure it is most clear. I will delete these questions here. So what I've done here, or I've now a quiz here with an introduction slide and a result slide, and I'm going to add a question to this question bank, or to this quiz. Sorry, there's no question bank here. And I'll see here that there's a normal quiz score points. So this is a variable, and I'm going to use this variable right now. So the normal quiz score points variable, that is where Storyline adds or subtracts the points, because that is for the result slide in this quiz. But we can also use this for showing the score. So you see here normal quiz score points. So what I've done is I'll set the state of progress to 2 when my timeline starts. If normal quiz score is 2, you can do the same for 4, 6, 8, and 10. So let's do it. And to give you a grasp of how I'll build this up, you see here a progress meter, and it has different states. So I'll change the state of the progress meter. If score points is 2, then he shows state 2. If points are 4, it's 4, not 6, 6, 8, and 10, and then it's he completely filled. So I'll copy this slide a couple of times. We'll put a number here so it's more clear that there are different questions. And let's see what happens if we preview this quiz now. So I want to preview this whole scene. So this is our quiz, our introduction page. And now we are going to answer this question. So here, Superman, and it's correct. So I'll get 1 point right now. I want to continue. And I see that there's something going wrong, and I will show you in a moment why. But here you see that it's filled. Now, there were two things going on the same time, because here on the correct layer, I had also the score quiz, so the normal variables. So let's delete this one. Do this also for this question. Maybe it's a little bit unclear right now, but I will explain it. So for this example, I don't use normal variables. I only use the points that Storyline gives here to a correct answer and incorrect answer. And Storyline store these points in the variable that is by this result slide. So this result slide has a variable normal underscore quiz score points, and there the points will be scored. And I'm going to use this variable to fill my progress meter. So what we are going to do now is, if I'll create a trigger wizard that says change state of our progress, set state to, for instance, 1. When the timeline starts on this slide, if, and now we have to pick this variable, score points is equal to 1. And we can the same do for this one, and let's set it to 2 if score points is equal to 2. And 3 if is equal to 3. I will copy these triggers so that they're also on the other questions. So let's preview the quiz again and see what it does. So I'll preview the scene. And then you see start quiz. So I'll answer my first question, Superman, here, and click on submit. See, is correct. And you see here now that my progress meter is filled for 1. So if I answer the second question correct again, I click on continue, you see that it's filled now for 2, and that's the same for 3. What you saw now is that the progress meter is filled only on the next slide. If you want to have the progress meter filled directly on the slide, we can have these 3 triggers on the correct layer. Then on the correct layer, the progress meter will be filled to 3, for instance. So this is something to a little sip of water to enhance your quizzes and have more engagement. But there's another way. For instance, if you want to have a scenario quiz, so I prepared something here. This can be a sales conversation. You have something that someone that asks a sales question, and there are 3 sales answers. And I'm now also answering the question from Laurie about what a free-form question is. So a free-form question is a question, and you can give yourself what the answer options should be, and it can be the text subjects in Storyline, images, multiple things. So if I go to insert here, and this is a normal slide, I can say I want to convert it to freeform. I have multiple options. I can convert it to a freeform drag and drop, a pick one, pick many, text entry, hotspot, or shortcut key. Now for this one, we'll convert it to a pick one question. You see that Storyline now has added a form view to this question. And what we can do now is we can select our answers here, 2 and 3. And we can, for instance, say, let's say that answer B is the correct answer. So if user now clicks on answer 2, that is the correct answer. Storyline then rewards this answer with 10 points. But if you want to have another question per answer, so it's, for instance, branched. So let's create, duplicate this one. So I'll have here sales question 2. If I go to the first question, go to form view here, and you can have feedback by answer, by question, but I want it to be my feedback by choice. And now you can say by sales question answer 1, there is a specific feedback, but also that you want to branch it to a specific slide. So in this example, pick 1, 2. We can also do this for the other answer options. I can go back to my form view here. And now I'll say that if a user has answered, pick answer B here, I will show him this specific question. He chose an answer C, then he gets another specific question. So it's branched right now. And what you also see is that you have here the options to have specific feedback if you want it. Now, if we are gonna insert a result slide to this quiz, for instance, let's go to slides, result slide, pick a normal graded result slide, I pick insert slide. What I can do now here is say I want all 4 of these questions included in this result slide, but a user only sees, for instance, 2 questions, and the other 2 questions he don't see. Now, the questions that a user don't see, you don't want it to be marked as wrong by default, because the participant didn't see the questions. So therefore, you have here the options to only score viewed questions by the participant. So if we check this one, Storyline will only score the viewed questions. So for instance, he scored the first question in his quiz because that's the question everybody sees. And afterwards, he will score the question that is by the corresponding answer here. And this way you have more options for engagement with, now, for instance, a scenario, and you can also have it make it a quiz about it. You have your score and your points like a normal quiz, but you don't have to score all the, or see, user don't have to see all the quizzes. All the questions in this quiz. So I hope this was clear for everyone. I'll see there are already some questions, so I'll come by them at a moment. So before we'll dive in the question section, I have a special offer you for joining me in this insightful webinar today. It's an offer to my Ultimate Articulate Storyline online course. And this course is, I think, your shortcut from a Storyline beginner to a Storyline pro. I designed this course to tackle your pain points and demystify all Storyline's features and guiding you step by step on how to build engaging e-learning courses. And with the coupon code POWER3, you will now get a 30% discount on the course price of $297. So in this course, you will master Storyline from the ground up through 11 easy to follow modules, and also with a bunch of hands-on exercises. And there's also a community of fellow learners. And at the end, if you have seen all the videos and done the exercises, you can earn a certificate to showcase your achievement. And this is all in bite-sized e-learning videos. So if you want to enroll now, then you can start your e-learning, your Storyline journey with me, and you can save hundreds of hours of your learning course and unleash your true potential in e-learning with the Articulate Storyline online course. So if you visit upwardonlinelearning.learnworks.com, you can learn more or you can enroll. And if this presentation ends, you can see a button and you can go directly to the sales page and purchase this course if you are interested. Now that said, let's go to the questions and answers for this webinar. So there will be question and answers. You can put your questions in the chat. Let's see which questions there are. Can you create a certificate of completion with the quiz score that can be printed? Yes, that is possible, Karen. Let me see. For the results slide here, here is a print results button. Now, that can be a certificate of completion. You can also create your own completion certificate of completion, for instance, in a new slide, and you can add the quiz score there, for instance. So let me quickly create a new slide here. Now, if I go to insert, to reference, and I'll go here to there on the built-in. yeah, here, score percent, normal quiz score percent. If I click on OK, you see this is the reference for the variable. So if a user has done the quiz, here the percent will be filled in, and you can create a print button so you can make your own certificate of completion. I hope this was an answer to your question. Sunny, if you don't use feedback branching, is it better to use feedback or just enter the text on the correct or incorrect layer? We have been entering feedback on the layer. Yeah, it's a little bit of the same, because if you're entering feedback, let me go back to a quiz question. Now, here we haven't entered any feedback yet. For instance, here, if I have sales question 1, no, let me check this one. You see here, that's correct. You selected the correct response. You gave the right answer. I have now edited on the layer. But if I go back to form view now, you see here that what I added on the layer is also here. So if I'll add here, that was really wrong with an exclamation mark, and I go back to slide view and I go to my incorrect layer, you see that it's also filled in here. So it doesn't really matter if you do it on the form view, under feedback, or if you're doing it under the layer. I normally do it on my feedback layers, because I can see if the text fits, and if I have to do something, for instance, make it smaller type, font type, or that sort of thing. So that's something I do, but there is no correct or wrong here. Oh, you're not seeing my screen anymore. Bummer for me. We're gonna do it again. I was explaining about entering the feedback. You can enter feedback on your feedback layer, but you can also enter it here. And if you enter feedback here, for instance, way to go, I go back to my feedback layer. You see here, if I go here, that way to go is also added here. So it doesn't really matter if you do it here or you do it on the form view. And what I thought, I normally do it here because I see directly if the text fits, and I have to make it, for instance, a smaller font type. Yeah, that is also, Jan gave feedback that he says, I always recommend people to make screen print of the certificate slide and pass it into PowerPoint and then print it. That's a possibility, but you can also print it from Articulate Storyline. What you can do is check if you review or preview your course, how it will look like, and if a user can print it, then that's also an option. How more steps there are, how lesser steps there are for user, I think it's better. So are there any other questions that we can answer for now? No, I think that was it for now. So thank you for this webinar. Which version of Articulate Storyline I use today? Yes, I use Articulate Storyline and the 360 version. What I will do, Wendy, is share my storyline project when I publish the video of this course on YouTube. So I will put a link in the description of the YouTube video to this storyline project, so you can see how I've done certain things. So I hope everybody has a great time and learned something. And the next webinar that I will give is in November. I don't know the exact date, but I'll know the topic, and the topic will be about gamification elements in Articulate Storyline. So I hope I'll see you then, and have a nice day. Bye bye.